all, welcome to my YouTube channel again. So today we are going to discuss about mastering config maps in Kubernetes. As you all may already know that config maps is a part in the Kubernetes. So here in this session I am going to discuss about what is a config maps and what is its use and a task which will show us like how to create and apply our config maps in the deployments. So I will explain you all of this in this session. So please watch until the end, and if you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link which I will be keeping in the description box, as I have mentioned everything here, so you can just go to that link and access this blog there. So let's start now. Config maps. The config map API resource holds key value pairs of configuration data, okay, same like variables, so that can be consumed in pods or used to store configuration data for system components such as controllers. So config maps is nothing but a configuration data which can be used and accessible by the pods. Inside the pods, whichever pods are running inside a specific namespace or a specific cluster, so all of those can access this config maps configuration data. And config maps are intended for non-sensitive data. For sensitive data we have another concept called secrets, which I will cover in the next session. So config maps will come under non-sensitive data, so which is nothing but a configuration data like config files and environment variables, as I have already told that it is same like variables, and are a great way to create customized running services from generic container images. So in the end, the config maps is nothing but a configuration data for the pods, so that they can access those data from the config maps. Pods can be able to access the data from the config maps when those config maps are defined in the deployment YAMLs. Okay, so you might have got it. So deployment YAML is again nothing but where everything, the images, everything, which I will cover in the next section. For now, you can just understand that config maps are nothing but the non-sensitive configuration data that can be accessed by the pods. Okay, so let's move to the task. So create a config map for your deployment. So deployment means nothing but we will be having a deployment YAML in our namespace which was already running or already declared. So let's see how to create a config map for our deployment YAML. So first create a YAML file which will be used as a config map YAML, so to include all the configurations required. So configmap.yaml is the YAML file which will be having the configuration data for our deployment. So it is same like any other YAML file. First we declare the API version, then kind is the config map. For pod, it is a pod. For deployment, kind will be the deployment. So it depends on what we have created. So since this is a config map, we have declared kind as a config map. Next is metadata. So name is the application demo, and the namespace is, in this namespace this config map is getting created. So for that we have declared this metadata section here, and the data, this is the configuration data which will be passed to the pods. So application name will be the same, the name and the application name will be the same, and the protocol will be the TCP. So these three are the variables which are getting passed to the pods so that they can use that data without any issues. So that's how we can pass our data to the pods using the config maps. And next, run the file using kubectl command. So you all already might have known that how we apply the deployment YAML and how to apply any YAML file in Kubernetes. This is the command kubectl apply -f and the YAML file. Whether it is a deployment YAML or configmap.yaml, the same command apply -f. So once we run this command, then it will show us like config map / application demo created. Since here we have given this config map name as application -demo. So that's why here it is showing config map / application -demo, which is a config map name got created. Next, the third step. In the third step, we can change the deployment YAML. So deployment YAML is used to deploy our applications through the pods. So this deployment YAML we can change to include our config map properties in the deployment. So here you can see I have already told that here, since it is a config map, here kind is a config map. Since here this is a deployment, here kind is a deployment. Next, the metadata is passed. Okay, that we have already discussed that it is a deployment name and this is the application name, and in which namespace it is being passed to, that namespace we have declared here, and the replicas you already know, and the labels, these are okay. But here, and the container, the name of the image and the host, everything we have mentioned, on which port it should get exposed to, everything we have mentioned. Then after that we mention the environment, which is a config map like variables. So here name application, let's say that value from where should, here we are same like we are declaring a variable. So here env we have defined, then name application we have defined. Since it will show as a key value pair, for name application it should show us the name application hyphen, it should get the data from the config map where the config map name is the application -demo. So this, all of this whatever we have mentioned here should fetch the value of the application which is mentioned here. Okay, so let's see whether it will do that or not. So once it is declared, then we can run the deployment file and check for the deployment and config map are running or not. Once it is deployed with the apply -f, kubectl apply -f and the deployment YAML file, that using that command, then we can check whether our config map and deployments are running or not using this command kubectl get config maps -n. Means here we are declaring the namespace, because a cluster can have many number of namespace, which is like a sub cluster where our pods will be running. So that we can access using the -n, which will declare the namespace in the kubectl commands. So same like here we are just fetching the config maps, here we are fetching the deployment YAMLs which are present in this namespace. Okay, so here both are fetched. Here you can see data 3. So we have our config map ready. Since it is ready, now we can move on to the next step, which is to describe the where we can see detailed view of the config map using the describe command. So kubectl describe config map application -demo, which is a config map name. Here you can see. So we are describing this config map -n from this namespace. Okay. So when we run this command, it will show all the data which is present inside that config map. Here the variables are defined like application is defined like this, name defined like this, and protocol defined as TCP. Since we have checked this data, now navigate inside the pod and check the environment variable and the application for detailed status. So kubectl get pods is the command to fetch the pods for a specific namespace that we can declare using -n flag. Here you can see. Now we can go inside the pod. For going inside the pod, we use the command kubectl exec-it. Okay. So this is the pod name and this is the namespace. So what it will do? It will take us inside this pod where we can run our commands to check anything inside the pod. So here when you run this command echo $application, since we have defined this variable in the config map, so here we are getting the value like this from the config map using the deployment YAML. For more understanding, you can see it is nothing like a variable, nothing but like a variable. Here in config maps, we have just defined the variable. So print env means it will fetch all the variables which are declared inside that pod. So when we run this command print env, it will fetch all the environment variables as well as the data which we have mentioned in the config maps, which is env. So first it will go here in the deployment YAML, then it will check the name application and where should it take from? It should take from application-demo config map. And this is our application-demo config map where application name is defined as this. So the value should be this which is defined inside the pod that you can see here. Application equal to this. So that's how we use the config maps in deployment YAMLs in Kubernetes. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching until the end. And if you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link which I will be keeping in the description box. And thanks for watching.